they challenged one of the biggest franchises in gaming.
To some extent, my whole life we've been chasing id Software. I remember thinking how I wanted to make better games than them.
And created a world that changed everything.
Unreal kind of changed things. It was very much about atmosphere and exploring a really beautiful but strange and scary world.
It was the one game where when I walked into this world, I just wanted to walk around. I just wanted to look at stuff.
It seized and conquered a genre.
And Unreal turned out to be a very big game. It was the start of a major franchise.
It looks like they've embraced Unreal pretty strongly.
This is the epic story that changed everything.
2, 1.
The name says it all. It's Unreal.
Play. Flawless victory!
Well, it started back in the day when Epic Games began developing games. They started with games like Jazz Rabbit.
I was one of the first people at the company, but Mark was, other than Tim Sweeney, who's the founder, Mark was the other guy.
The year is 1998, and a game from id Software called Quake 2 is the undisputed champion of the first-person shooter genre.
To some extent, my whole life we've been chasing id Software. I remember when I was making my own games and there was John Romero and John Carmack were making Commander Keen and Wolfenstein. I remember thinking how I wanted to make better games than them. I realized that here is a medium that offers you the opportunity to play a dream. And I've always been a big dreamer. I was harassing my parents to get an Apple IIc, I think, and I wound up programming little games on that and anything I could get my hands on. I wound up making this little game called Palace of Deceit, and I sent it on a disc, a little 3.5-inch floppy, to Tim Sweeney, and a few days later I got a phone call, and he wound up liking it. And then I wound up doing the Jazz Jackrabbit title.
Yo, ready for this?
So a company known mostly for its shareware games is about to release a game that will challenge the Quake franchise.
James Schmaltz was basically the guy that came up with the concept for the game, along with Cliff Bleszinski and Tim Sweeney. They were the core of developing Unreal.
Tim Sweeney, he is one of the brilliant minds of our industry.
You have entered a restricted area.
And that's evident in all the Unreal technology.
But it was damn near a 4-year process to get that game from start to finish. And I refer to that time as my own little personal Vietnam.
And the work pays off. Epic releases its Unreal title, and the game brings first-person shooters to a whole other level and world.
When you start off in Unreal, you start off in a dark ship. You can't really see that much. But when you get to the exit of the ship, you walk into this living world. And the graphics were so amazing because there was a waterfall to your right. You can look up, you see the sky, you see birds flying around.
Unreal kind of changed things because it gave people the opportunity not just to be confined in dark, almost like monochromatic corridors. They were very huge outdoor open vistas. It was very much about atmosphere and exploring a really beautiful but strange and scary world.
For the case of Unreal, you've crashed on this alien planet. And there were some very alien things about it. But at the same time, there was very familiar things with it, be it statues, houses, or things like that. Obviously, and no one's ever been to that planet, no one will ever go to that planet. And so it wasn't so alien that the player couldn't relate to it.
It was the one game where when I walked into this world, I just wanted to walk around for a little while. I didn't even want to play it. I just wanted to look at stuff. and there was a bird that was flying overhead. I took my gun and I actually shot the bird, and it flew down. It actually crashed and landed.
To be playing a game, a first-person shooter, you have your guns and there's alien guys you have to go kill and things like that, and you go outside and you actually stop to like check out a waterfall. To me, that says a lot. Not only in terms of just the graphics, but in the way the graphics have been used to create a truly brilliant game environment.
I think a lot of it has to do with the variety of the locales that we have. Certain games will lock you into space stations only, or one specific type of planet. And Unreal has a huge variety of levels, and variety appeals to a lot of people as opposed to just sticking them in the same brown room over and over again.
We wanted to make a game that was just visually compelling, visually interesting, you know, theme park type visuals. Maybe we went a little bit crazy on the colored lighting here and there, but overall, people found it to be one of the most beautiful games of all time. And that, coupled with the fact that we wanted to blow up characters and monsters, it wound up being a chocolate and peanut butter type experience. They're two things that wound up going very well together.
The game's stunning visuals sets the industry abuzz.
And Unreal turned out to be a very big game. It was the start of a major franchise.
To be honest, for me, the original Unreal was what got me into gaming in the capacity that I am now. I got a Pentium 2 266 with a 12 meg Voodoo 2 card, and went out and bought Unreal.
The name says it all. It's Unreal. It's Unreal technology, it's Unreal worlds, it's Unreal characters. It's all of those things put together that make Unreal what it is.
I actually sat there staring at the screen on the intro where you fly around the gnarly castle because I just couldn't believe that video games could look this good. After playing games on a Genesis and Super Nintendo, things like that, it really did blow me away and think, wow, video games are amazing.
The success of Unreal is a relief to the team that gave birth to it.
You never know. You never know how successful any product you're working on is going to be. The most you can do is make the kind of game you want to play, and then trust your gut instinct and hope the public likes it. But fundamentally, when it comes down to it, it's 20 people in one office trying to make something that they think is a gem. And it gets hard because you work on a game for 2 years, sometimes more, and you get to the point where you don't want to play the game anymore because you've played it so damn much. And if at the end of the game, when you're ready to ship it, if you still think it's fun, then you might have a winner on your hands.
While the first Unreal is just getting settled in as one of the premier first-person shooters, another Unreal prepares for its debut. But will this epic game live up to the hype? As Unreal gains notoriety in the gaming world, one of the key members of its development team is thrust into the limelight.
Cliff is definitely a personality within the video games industry. If you've ever been to E3, CES, anything like that, or if you mix in the upper echelons of North Carolina elite, you know who Cliff is.
Technically, my title on Unreal was co-designer and lead level designer. And I was responsible for looking at the environments that everybody made and combing through them and seeing if they were fun and pretty and engaging.
And he continues to push what a level should be, a design should be.
I don't just sit on top of Design Mountain and spew design nuggets to the team below me or whatever. I work with the same tools that the team does. I'm in the trenches creating environments alongside with them.
He's got very specific ideas on what he's interested as a gamer and what he thinks other people are interested in as well.
I have my own vision of what the game should be, don't get me wrong. It's in the back of my head. I dream about playing the finished game at night. Despite all of the attention, Cliffy B takes everything in stride and ensures that the rest of the Unreal team gets their due credit. You gotta remember, it's a 20-person team, and there's no I in team, as they say. The thing to realize about Unreal and the creative process that we have is it's very much a collaborative effort. We hire people who are good at making games, and they also love games, and they have their own vision of what the game should be. And I consider my job to be the channeling of that vision. With the success of Unreal, Epic decides to change gears and release a follow-up game with a multiplayer focus.
You have been selected to fight in the professional league.
The new game is called Unreal Tournament.
To win the tournament.
Unreal Tournament really introduced multiplayer gaming to many PC gamers. It certainly did myself. At the time, it was an immediately addictive game, especially, you know, going online and playing against people on the internet, which was then very much a fledgling new thing to do.
There's something about online gaming that single-player gaming just doesn't capture. There's something about playing a game on the internet and seeing somebody in front of you and fighting against them and knowing that there's a real person there.
Beyond that, playing on local area networks, in the office, at school, college, whatever. You were competing live against other people with a game that looked fantastic.
Burn, baby!
The technology was amazing, the physics was amazing.
And stay down!
We actually saw that Unreal was more than just one product. It actually turned into multiple products with the release of Unreal and then Unreal Tournament, and then also with the creation of Unreal Technology and the licensing of Unreal Technology. It became kind of this thing that was going every which direction.
It was needed. You can't fit all of what Unreal can be in both the story-based and the multiplayer aspect into one game. It would take too long, and you would start to dilute one portion.
Unreal Tournament surpasses the success of the original and the expectations of gamers.
Oh, yeah.
We did Unreal Tournament in Raleigh, and that was the follow-up, and that did much better than Unreal, sold over 2.5 million copies worldwide.
The new online multiplayer game spawned some pretty clever ideas.
The clan wars, there are these little clans of people on the internet who band together and play as one unit, as teams. And there's even a cyber athlete professional league that people are making money in that I serve on the board. They have these regular tournaments and there's a good amount of money going around. There's people who are doing this full time. I'm all for it. I think it's wonderful.
And one of the creators gets in on the online action.
I would go online as Cliffy B, and I would pop on servers, the game servers that are being played where people are playing, and I would kick the ass of everybody on the server. It became this whole William Wallace shoots fireballs from his ass type of, legendary, oh, I saw him, I fragged him, I played against him. And it grew out of control where there'd be people who'd play as my name online and kick people's butts, and they didn't know if it was really me or not.
Congratulations, you are a winner.
Meanwhile, the gaming industry takes notice of the Unreal Engine.
Epic's fairly successful with the licensing of their technology. It's getting easier. The 2003 engine is far easier to work with than the previous version of the Unreal Engine, even down to the user level with skinning and modding in that sense.
We have a number of people who are using our technology to make cool games with, and the list is ever expanding, and licensing our technology is just as much of a viable part of our business as making the games that we make.
A slew of notable Unreal-powered games hits the shelves, such as Clive Barker's Undying, Rune, and America's Army. But professional developers aren't the only people interested in the Unreal Engine. The mod community, mostly amateur developers, want a piece of it too.
It looks like they've embraced it. Every first-person shooter that releases has a pretty strong following if the sales numbers are there, the server counts are up there. They've embraced Unreal pretty strongly.
The mod community is a huge importance to both Infogram as a publisher and to Epic as a developer. Without them, the life cycle of the product will be very short.
And one of these mods becomes so popular that the publisher Infogrames decides to turn it into a full retail product under its newly acquired Atari label.
A particular case in point for Infogram would be Tactical Ops, which used the original Unreal Tournament. That was basically based on, real-life SAS, Delta Force, that kind of thing, going in and fighting against terrorists and stuff like that.
We saw that the community was so enthralled with this particular mod that we really didn't have a choice. It was something that people really wanted, and so we put more money into the development of that product.
And Cliffy B himself offers up his very candid opinion.
If you've ever been online, you'll know that Cliff has his own website called Ownage, where people can actually submit their own web designs. And he's very brutally honest on whether it's good or bad, but that serves to push the development of Unreal products, because essentially Unreal lies with the community.
In Epic's case, they do an exceptional job of staying involved with who their consumer is, staying on the pulse of what the players want, and delivering that in each round of technology and products that they create.
By now, Unreal has become a major franchise in gaming. It has a healthy online presence, plenty of user support, and tons of fans. But there's something right around the corner that will change this franchise forever. In 2002, the Unreal series is firmly entrenched as one of the premier gaming franchises.
Unreal Tournament 2003, the legend returns.
Unreal Tournament 2003 is released, and gamers everywhere are wowed again.
We didn't just take UT, slap a new coat of paint on it, and try and make more cash by calling it 2003.
How do I look?
Not as good as me, baby.
It is a new game. It's very much like the original, but it has to be its own entity, and that's what we tried to do.
Well, fans, here we are for another edition of the Glorious Sports.
And the aspects of this game move slightly closer to another booming industry.
What we're trying to concentrate on now is trying to go for like a future sports aspect, concentrating on the development of a team and a league of players and moving your way up.
The game includes an eccentric cast of characters.
Motig, Feralith, Thorax, Domina.
But it's the multiplayer aspect that has fans all fired up.
Multiplayer is everyone jumps in, everyone just blows each other up with no theme, just instant arcade action, which is fine. But we wanted to lend the sports feel to it just to have some sort of fresh feeling to it.
Blue team scores.
It is a competitive sport, and that kind of reflects what's happened online, because, you know, people do compete professionally. There are clans and there are guys who go out there and earn a considerable amount of money just by playing games like Tournament and Tournament 2003.
Anyone else want
New round in.
You have a more competitive arena to do things in. You have more access to different styles of presenting the game. Announcers.
Blue team dominating. The verdict.
Or scoring.
2-1. Blue team scores.
Themes. Crowd interaction, that sort of thing. So it just seemed like a logical step, giving it an arena-based sport theme.
The Unreal series is given life on the Xbox with Unreal Championship.
Hey, this is cool. You can play against all the other guys around here. You're gonna frag them.
Unreal Championship was originally developed on the Xbox. It started about 2 years ago. There's a lot of subtle differences and a lot of large gameplay differences. But Unreal Championship is really geared towards the console. We designed a lot of the levels around the controller. We spent a lot of time researching what the best controller configuration would be, so that we've refined them highly for each different platform. Again, it's pretty sweet.
Duck faster next time.
Obviously, the Xbox was a good fit for the Unreal brand. It was online, out of the box, being able to have the live support from Microsoft, and they worked really closely with us to give us the best experience that we could for the end user.
Is that your best?
But things don't stop with Unreal Tournament 2003 and Unreal Championship. A full sequel to the original Unreal is released in early 2003.
Unreal 2, this is our next big title. This is going to be huge for us. Unreal 2, rather than being a multiplayer game like, for example, Tournament 2003, concentrates fully on the single-player aspect of the Unreal universe.
Good to see you, Dalton.
You play the role of a guy called John Dalton, who's a TCA Marshal, which is effectively the 24th century's equivalent of a sheriff of the Old West.
Sir, I know the score. Stow it, Dalton.
You're basically in the back end of space. There's nothing much happening out there when all of a sudden, you know, all hell breaks loose.
Mayday, mayday! We're in trouble down here. The facility has been overrun by hostile aliens.
Remember now, search and rescue. No rough stuff.
Yes, Mother.
And you're involved in an incredible adventure featuring different races, different worlds. Like the original Unreal did for me as a gamer back then, it's going to define what first-person shooters are to a new generation of gamers.
I'm absolutely convinced that people are going to love Unreal 2.
Let's look at the main base in the holotank.
Meanwhile, the Unreal technology keeps getting more unreal.
This huge generator provides juice for the heavy rock-crushing equipment. Here is the nearest entrance from your drop point. Good luck down there.
We have this, 1,000 times leap in detail. And we basically had a year where we had to figure out how to upgrade our technology and our pipeline for building these environments to the point of using this much detail and really showing it off.
We're not sitting back and looking at Unreal 2 and Unreal Tournament 2003 and thinking that we're done. There's still a lot more that's going to go into the Unreal brand.
But in the end, the Unreal franchise is still a labor of love for those that created it.
After so many years of working on this project, after the huge expectations and the realization that we actually accomplished that goal, is very satisfying to everyone involved.
I got the artifact.
Get to the surface, John.
It's what I wanted to do. If I was receiving no money for this, I would still be trying to do it. If I was a mechanic and I was working at Jiffy Lube, I would come home at the end of the day and I'd be screwing around with my computer trying to build stuff. That would be what I would be doing on my spare time. And it's kind of a happy coincidence that I can do this and actually get paid for it and be somewhat well known within the business for doing it.
Nice work, Marshall.
We're sending you back, John. We got more trouble down there.